Onto this story now, motorists are now paying more for fuel than ever before. That's despite the extension of the fuel levy relief. Government says the increases are due to local and international factors, including COVID-19. Let's get more details now from Tseliso Maqubela. He's the Deputy Director General at the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy. Thank you very much, DDG, for your time here on All Angles. Now, one of the international factors that were mentioned in your statement is, of course, the EU's discussion around sanctioning oil coming from Russia. But sanctions usually take about 5-6 years to kick in for rich countries. That means we're going to suffer first. Are you in discussions at all with your Russian counterparts, anyone in the EU about this? Because we are drowning, DDG.
No, good morning, Masego and the viewers of eNCA. Indeed, it is true that we are in this because of the global conflict that is unfolding in Eastern Europe. That, in the main, is why we're here. That is why even jet fuel, I'm not surprised, airlines are in trouble because the jet fuel has become really unaffordable. Now, what we've seen, Masego, is that effectively both parties are using energy as a weapon. And that's effectively, that is what is happening. Now, one energy supply, we saw that it was used as a weapon. Now, energy demand, as of yesterday, is also now being used as a weapon, because you cannot just remove a major supplier of oil from the world market and expect that things will stay the same. So as these discussions are taking place, I think the countries themselves need to think about what impact these will have on developing countries and countries that don't produce their own oil and don't refine their own oil. It is actually a major catastrophe that we're facing now worldwide.
And obviously we know why they're trying to sanction Russia. It's because of the war that has been waged on Ukraine. But our part in South Africa, are we still abstaining? I know that's more of a presidency question, but as a stakeholder of government who's supposed to try things to be able to make our lives better as South Africans, are you in any discussions with the presidency, with anyone in the EU? Because, we're hearing that at some point we're going to get a 25 Rand increase.
Well, I think, as you rightly point out, that basically is outside our scope, the discussions at a diplomatic level. However, from an energy perspective, we really would urge that a diplomatic solution is found as soon as possible, because the outlook for July is actually not looking so good if this trend continues. We do expect that there will be more pain worldwide, and it is going to stretch, world economies, including our economy. I think we feel the pain of the motorists. However, in this instance, it is not of our doing. And I think that the Minister of Finance, as well as our Minister, they have done as much as they can without effectively impacting on the fiscal framework. Because if you start dipping into your tax regime, then you are creating other problems in the future for the economy.
Is it possible, you say that in July it looks like it's going to be even worse, or that there's going to be even more. So when you look at the future, how does the trajectory look? Does it look like we are going to get that 25 Rand that all these other organizations are talking about? Is this possible?
Well, we normally don't want to predict, especially on the first day, because today is the first day. However, because of the sanctions that were announced yesterday, we do expect that at least the diesel prices will be impacted heavily. The petrol prices, not as much as the diesel prices for July, because the driving season in the Northern Hemisphere, we think that it is going to start ramping down, and that then can benefit petrol users. But I'm afraid I can't say the same for diesel users, because Russia is a major supplier, was a major supplier of diesel to the European market. If now that is shut out, then the demand by the European countries is basically going to drive the prices even further up.
That's quite capitalist, right? Nobody's feeling sorry for us here in developing countries. Instead of helping us out, they make it more difficult because they know we're desperate. But lastly, DDG, in terms of the fuel levy, how difficult is it, or how bad would it be if you just scrap it for a little while longer, in terms of helping us as motorists? And mind you, DDG, I'm sure you know this, it's not just motorists. The price of fuel affects everything, even food. So even the poorest of the poor will suffer. That 350 Rand grant, for instance, has lost value. And there are people who also rely on taxis who will also then take their prices up because of this.
Yes, I think you are correct. I think the impact is huge, and it worries us on a daily basis, particularly the transport impact, because a lot of people live far from their working places. And secondly, we're concerned about the impact on food production in a country like ours. So now, coming to the issue of scrapping of levies, I really believe that that is being, unrealistic and really being populist. We really need to come up with other solutions. This one will just bankrupt the country.
What are the other
I don't
solutions,
think we should
DDG?
think about that.
Well,
I think as a team, we will have to look at what else can be done. We also need to ask the rest of the economy to begin to change the way that we're approaching transport. We said as early as March that those companies that have got employees who can, with the tools to work from home, should begin to consider that. And at the time, we had hoped that the conflict would be about 2 months. Quite clearly, it is going to stretch beyond that unless something drastic happens. So we need to change our ways. We need to introduce lift clubs where we can. We need to reduce the speeds at which we drive. I myself are now having to consider the use of, the Gautrain. Fortunately, we do have that in Gauteng, but I worry about other citizens
who can't afford the Gautrain. Exactly. Thank you very much, DDG, for your time here on All Angles. It's, a vicious cycle, isn't it? Good luck to all of us. Tseliso Maqubela, he is the Deputy Director General at the Department of Energy, Mineral Resources and Energy.